Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer Stay.
I'm Steve Stay.
And this is Coloring Bliss, and we have a really cool experience that we both enjoyed a week or two ago.
Yeah.
And we want to share it with you. We have some photos of where we went, and we're going to do some art inspired by the art of this particular master. And I'm so excited because this particular master is one of my favorite all-time artists. And
mine too.
I always get so much inspiration from looking at his art. So I'm excited to share that with you. So let's talk all about Vincent van Gogh. Okay, so here in Salt Lake City, Utah, we had a really cool traveling art exhibit that showed up. And when we heard about it, well, it was actually Steve that heard about it. He was like, we need tickets. We're going to do this. So this was a really special experience for me and kind of a splurge to go and do this as a family. It was so fun. So what it is an immersive experience, and it's called Beyond Van Gogh. Van Gogh? I'm going to say Van Gogh. Yes. Because I don't want to try to say it a way that I'm not sure about. So it's Beyond Van Gogh, and at the end I got this really cool shirt, and I wanted to wear it in this video so that I would just be all thematic. So the cool thing about this experience is it was all digital and projected up onto walls, and it was inside this big sort of old warehouse in Salt Lake City, and we went with my mom and my dad and Steve's sister and our son Carter. And it's so cool. You get to walk through all these quotes by Van Gogh and quotes by his brother and kind of learn about his life before you actually go into the immersive experience. So what I'm going to do now is roll some footage. They said we were allowed to take photographs and videos all we wanted during this experience. So I'm going to roll some footage that both Steve and I took from our little iPhones while we were in the middle of this amazing experience. So what they did was take Van Gogh's art and display it up on the walls and the pillars and the floors of this warehouse room. And so there were times when it was like looking at his art, but then they would have the art sort of animated. The eyes would blink or tree would move. It was really cool. But then there were times, and this was when it was extra good. It was almost like they took you into the painting and things were moving. And
it was incredible. They
had music to it, and so you sat in the middle of this room and just were totally immersed in Van Gogh's paintings. So Steve, you had a favorite.
Oh yeah, I think, well, for sure, Starry Night. I mean,
oh yeah, the way it was twirling and spinning.
It's just so beautiful. I mean, I love his art so much anyway, but then to have it come to life like that. And I think it was probably this one, the almond blossoms. They had the leaf, the petals coming off, and I think I got some footage if I do I'll include that here. But yeah, it was just so emotional.
Yeah.
Because
almost
his life is so sad and
yeah.
Tragic, but so beautiful. I mean, it was just such an emotional experience. And I mean, his life is like that. And do you remember when we first were introduced to that Beyond Van Gogh experience?
No, I don't.
It was in a TV show we were watching, and the people, I don't remember exactly which one it was, but they went to this experience, and ever since then I have wanted to go to that. So when I saw it was coming to Salt Lake, I was like, okay, we definitely got to go. I mean, it's a little bit pricey,
but worth every penny.
Oh yeah, worth every penny especially if you love Van Gogh. I mean, it's amazing. But I think the other reason why we like it so much is because of Doctor Who.
One of our all-time favorite Doctor Who episodes is based on Van Gogh's life. And if you're a Doctor Who fan, you know the episode. And it's so good and so emotional.
It's touching.
At the very end of that episode, they're kind of inferring that he's going to kill himself in relatively near future of that episode. And just they give him a moment where he gets to see how famous he gets, and it's just really
and the guy at the end talking about just how he's one of the most amazing painters in the world. It's very touching.
It was really good. So when we left, I wished it was twice as long, but it is very immersive, lots of lights. So I was kind of glad we were done, so that we could go into the gift shop, because I was like ready to spend my money and get some fun things. So I got this t-shirt, which I love, and now that I've done this video for you, I get to wear it anytime I want. And then Steve picked this out.
Almond blossoms.
Yeah, so
I still would love to get a really large print of that.
ooh, it'd be fun on the wall, a giant print of it.
It's just
maybe.
one of my favorite paintings of all time.
Yeah, love the colors. We're going to talk about colors and things like that here in a minute. And then we bought a magnet to hold it up onto our fridge. So very thematic. You can imagine that on our fridge downstairs. And then I'm currently collecting lapel pins, so that I can put them on a jean jacket. All kinds of lapel pins. So I picked out that lapel pin with our other favorite painting by Van Gogh. This one, of course, I think this is the one that most people know.
Yeah.
So there's another piece of art, and it's this one that was very well done in the immersive experience. And the colors were just, you wanted to, they show the strokes of his painting. I would love to go see it in person someday. That's like a real big dream. But anyway, so what I want to do today with you is talk about Van Gogh's colors. We're going to study this one right here, and we're going to kind of recreate Van Gogh's color palette onto a coloring page. I am not going to attempt to be as brilliant as Van Gogh with his mixing of colors on the page, and but I'm going to do my best to learn from Van Gogh and be inspired by him and his mastery of color. Color was everything by the time of the end of his life. Color was everything. So we have this coloring page right here, and we're going to make it available to all of you for a limited time. So come and get it for free. If you're one of our Bliss colorists, where you come and support us with just $5 a month, you have access to this coloring page year round, anytime you want. But for those of you who just want to kind of get a taste of coloring bliss, come and get this free page, link in the video description. It's got sunflowers. We thought that was thematic, and it's autumn, and that's very appropriate for the time of year that we are filming. So let's try to figure out what color scheme Van Gogh was using in that particular painting. This one right here. Okay, as much as I love my t-shirt here, I don't think the colors are exactly right. So let's look at the actual image. There's little Rosie. She's so cute. Okay, open this up, and there it is. Okay, so this, first of all, we gotta zoom in and just have a minute of appreciation for all of the detail, even in the vase. The way he does the strokes with the oil paint.
I have to say, that's probably one of my favorite parts of that experience. Everything was massive, giant. I mean, we're talking, well, you saw in the theme. I mean, the walls are huge, so everything gets blown up. And then in the first part, as we're walking through with those quotes, they blew his artwork up so you could see in detail his strokes, his brush strokes, and they were just gorgeous.
So he was.
You can't really.
I mean, this is you got to study it for yourself. But he was a master of mixing the paint on the canvas. So where other artists at that time were mixing on palettes and then bringing the beautiful color to the canvas, he would mix it right there on the canvas. So when you look closely at his strokes, there's different colors of paint in every stroke, and it's just really delicious. So let's try to guess what color palette Van Gogh was going for here. He was one of the very first master artists that was using complementary colors. That was like a new, fresh thing for artists to be doing. Now it's something we all know, that phrase, complementary colors. We get taught that in elementary school sometimes. So he was one of the first to actually do it, and do it really well, and just make everybody in awe. So I'm going to bring up my color wheel here, and let's see if we can figure out, was he using complementary colors here?
I wish we knew how accurate those colors are, because it's somebody taking a photo, putting it on the internet on our device. I mean, obviously the colors aren't going to be accurate.
Oh, no, not at all.
I wish I knew, is that blue
the blue
green
he used?
Because all the photos I was looking at online,
even my shirt,
it looked more blue green than your shirt does. Your shirt looks leans a little more blue to me.
Yeah, a brighter blue here.
Yeah.
So we'll just assume that this is really good.
Okay.
And we won't get caught up in all the details. And someday, maybe, Steve and I will actually go to the museum where this picture is at, or this painting. So if I look at and try to find the background color first, I would put it more blue-green than blue or even green. So that background is definitely in the blue-green family. So that's one color that he used. Of course, we've got to look at these beautiful flowers. So if we flip it around here like this and start looking, he's got, I would say, yellow-orange. It's not as bright as yellow, although there are moments when it gets more yellowy. So he's over here in the yellow-oranges. Oh! He's over here in the yellow-oranges. Sorry about that. And I think the center of his flowers are like a red-orange. That's what I'm seeing. Maybe even into red. Oh, and now I'm starting to see violets in there. Do you see the red violet?
Yeah, look at that.
I didn't see that before. Oh, now I really want to see this in person to see. Was he using pretty much this whole spectrum?
Yeah, he really was, wasn't he? Because that is definitely orange, the lower. Has that gone dark again? It looks like, anyway.
I would say that this is yellow-orange, yellow-orange. Yellow-orange is a primary color he's using here, a really big one.
I mean a main color.
Yeah, a main color. And then red-orange and some red-violet. But red-violet's more to juicy up the shadows.
Like you said, and orange.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole
this part here.
Analogous color scheme along that whole side
Yeah,
there.
this whole side. Now, he's also got greens. We have some real true green. Now, is it real true green? I'm going to bring it up. He outlined each petal. I hadn't noticed that till we zoomed it up. Did you see that? It's a dark color with light yellow-green
so
around.
there's yellow, green, and green in there.
Yeah,
Dark green.
Dark, a very rich green, and then the yellow-green.
Wow.
Really, you look at it and you go, yeah, blue, yellow, orange, and maybe some tan. That's like the first thing, and maybe a little green. That's all you really see when you first see it, and then you start looking and you're like, oh my word, no wonder it's so good. So it's so beautiful. Anyway, so if we look at our color wheel, we know we have blue-green, and then we have this side of the color wheel. And it's not really yellow, it's more this way. So I'm thinking what he was doing was the blue-green with the complementary color of the red-orange, and then he spread this out as he worked. I hope you saw that. Let me show you again. So the blue-green,
and show the...
and then you go straight across blue-green, and there's red-orange, and I think he just worked in this whole side of the color wheel to get that overall yellow-orangey, red-orangey feel. That's my guess. So it's I would call it, what were we calling this?
Complementary
analogous. That's the name that I think you and I gave it. There were a lot of different names we could pick from for that particular color scheme, but that was the one that I thought was used most and the most explanatory of what's happening. So it's a complementary, but you're using the analogous colors of one of the sides. So I think that's what he did. So for my coloring page right here, I want to be inspired by what he did and kind of do the same thing. So we will work with blue-green and then the analogous over here. Now my next question is, which color is his primary color? I think it's pretty obvious that yellow-orange is his primary or mother or dominant color. That's the one that he was really trying to highlight and send towards your eyes. He also did another color trick here. Okay. So there's a color trick where you can use warm colors to make it move towards you and really have energy towards the viewer, and then use cool colors to move anything away that you want to be more of a supporting character in your color scheme. So that's exactly what he's done. He's done very cool colors. Even the greens are cooler greens, so they're getting pushed back and away from the eye. So the main attraction, your eye goes whoop, right to the middle, and you just stay right here. It's so good. It's so good. He makes it look effortless. But when you look at this picture, your eyes don't want to leave. It stays right in. That's so masterful. He was a master. Okay, now little old me is going to try to do something in the flavor of this and be expressive and inspired by Van Gogh and do it on this coloring page, which, like I said, free for a limited time. Come and get it. And I would love to see you attempt to portray this on your version. Wouldn't that be fun? We can all show how we did trying to be Van Gogh inspired for our coloring page. Okay, let me pick out some art supplies and I'll be right back. Okay, so the art products that I couldn't help but pull out are a little challenging. So this is going to be interesting to see what I create. So I grabbed some pastels. These are chalk pastels, soft pastels, a variety of blue, greens, and blues here, so I can try to recreate the color I'm seeing here in the background of my page. So that's the first thing I selected, was the background product. And I should be able to get some cool tones and some dark moments and light moments. It should work good. Now for the flowers, I grabbed this. This is my Caran Neocolor II crayons. Now, the reason I'm going for different products is because I kind of want to try to be inspired by the loose, expressive coloring that he used in his painting. So I'm trying to pick products that I can be a little more expressive with. So these are water-soluble crayons. I'll be able to color with it straight and also add water to try to get the colors and the effects that I want to do. And I also grabbed some of my other oil pastels. These are water soluble, very soft and creamy. So if I want to try for something kind of chunky and deep and full like his oil painting, I'm thinking I will reach for these guys right here. And these aren't the pearlescent ones. I don't think that's what I grabbed. These are just the standard ones. So these are the pearl. Let me switch out for the regular box. The two boxes are so similar, it's easy to get confused. Okay, so let me show these to you really quick so you can see them. I have a video here on YouTube where I first experienced these and work with these if you want to see that video. Okay, actually I have a video for this as well if you're interested in these crayons. So what I'm going to do first is start to lay some color down, make some color choices, and you can enjoy the time lapse of me making a plan here on my coloring page. I'm going to swatch out any products I use over here as well so that you will have a list of any products that end up on this coloring page. Okay, wish me luck. Let's get started. After going through my Caran Neocolor IIs, I picked out a bunch of colors to represent the flowers, the vase, and the leaves. And then I decided to tape down my coloring page onto a plastic work surface. I did have this printed on our watercolor paper. I'll put a link to that in the video description. So I can hit this with quite a lot of water and get away with it. So I'm excited about that. But I want it very secure so that I get a nice crisp edge, just like Van Gogh's painting had a nice crisp edge on his. So let's tape this down and get it going. Okay, to kind of interpret the color of the petals on my flowers, I've grabbed a nice variety of yellow, yellow-orange, orange, and there's a little bit of red-orange going on in here as well, although I'm going to save the darkest of the red-orange colors for the center of the flower. So this is a good array. It kind of represents the analogous part of this complementary analogous color scheme. So we can really work in here as much as I want. Light source. It looks to me like his light source is sort of top right. So I'm going to go with that as well on his sunflower painting. Okay, so I'm going to try to be expressive and just lay down some colors. I need to interpret shadows a little bit, but I'm just going to have some fun here, and then we'll activate it with water and then add more again on top of it. So here we go. Let's lay some colors down. Okay, there's the first laydown of color. So I want to bring it up and show you. Try to be like how Van Gogh did it. He was very, just put the colors on and let them mix and do what he intended on the paper. So I did a little bit of that with the crayons, trying to get the shadows and the highlights laid down roughly where I want them. So now I'm going to use some water and activate this crayon and help it mix in, and then we can go back on top of it again to add more depth, more of those strokes. I just love looking close at his image here and see all the strokes that he did. So inspiring. Okay, that was lots of fun. I love how easily the Neocolor IIs are to activate with water, because I could just hit a little bit on there and it just sort of melted, although we still have some of the strokes of the crayon, which is exactly what I was after. Very Van Gogh inspired, right? So now I'm going to, that's kind of like my base layer now, so I'm going to dry that down and then come back again with more of the crayons and increase that depth of color, the saturation, because his painting is really deep with color and I want to do that. Okay, looking at a close-up of his flowers, we can see there's lots of colors going on. Those dark red oranges, some red violets, maybe even a little black in there, and then some of the flowers have green in the center. Look at his strokes here to get that roundish feel. Even his strokes express the feel of the flower. So cool. So I'm going to not put green into the centers, maybe. We'll see how it proceeds here. Save the green for the leaves that I have to do here. That's my thinking, and I'm going to stick more with the dark red oranges, red violets, although the black Neocolor II is really potent and it would quickly take over. I mean, he's using it to express such a small detail in the middle of that flower. Same with right here. So we'll see what it feels like as I'm working. I kind of like that this illustration, even though it, this is one of my older illustrations. It's about 6 years old now. And I loved drawing these circles inside these grids. It's one of my favorite things to draw. So that's why these flowers have this. But I feel like it really fits Van Gogh's expressive stroke. So I'm just going to kind of go with it, kind of ignore it. We'll see. I'm going to feel my way through this. Here we go. Okay, I've got my greens now and a few of the yellow orangey colors and that more red, orange, almost violet type color here as well. Looking at the leaves, that's kind of the mix of colors that are happening. Now I have two different varieties of leaves. So I think I'll probably try to make maybe these ones up here a little bit more on the yellow-green side, and then these a little bit more on the dark green with a touch and kiss of the yellow-green. That's what I'm planning. Let's see what happens. So far I'm loving it. The inner part of the flower definitely looks like the ones from the painting. I might tone it down a little bit. We'll see. I kind of love it, kind of want to do something different, but shouldn't judge halfway, so let's keep going. I thought this was a good moment to sort of pause and show you the power of a water-soluble tool, whether it's a color pencil or a crayon. You can see on this side where I have, just with the dry crayon on the watercolor paper, roughly laid out all the colors the way I wanted them, the tones and where the highlights and the shadows are. That's these two here. And then over here, this is after I have activated it with water. Now you got to be really careful because these dark colors will overtake the light colors. So as you're activating them with color, just be mindful of that. I usually try to remember to start in the lightest areas and then move towards the darks, and then blend out the line between the two. And that usually works pretty good. Now remember, my plan here again is to let this dry and then come back on top of it with the really expressive strokes to really fill it, saturate it with the beautiful colors that Van Gogh used. Also up close here you can see how the violet's looking here in the middle. Still not sure if I love it or not. And then I used some of the red orange in with the green here to use that complementary color trick where the two complements can sort of neutralize each other, and you get this beautiful brown, interesting brown, but it's very appropriate shadow color for this leaf right here. Really want that leaf to be dark and mysterious like his leaves are. I was also looking at his painting and noticing that a lot of his leaves are like a one stroke and done kind of leaf. Look how expressive that leaf right there is. So cool, but there's still multiple colors happening in that one stroke because he was mixing the paint on the canvas, so you get that real fluid and just organic experience. Whatever happens, happens. So I'm trying to go with that. Whatever happens, happens here. It's really hard for me to not get back into my blending and getting it a seamless blend. I just want to be very Van Gogh. All right, let's activate these leaves and add some more color on top. So one thing I've discovered is it's very difficult to stay within the lines of the illustration when you're trying to be expressive and free with your strokes. So I've had some mistakes as far as strokes going outside of Illustrator lines. So I'm trying to think, I may grab a black pen eventually and try to clean up some of those Illustrator lines. Ever so often green has gotten into the yellow and I've just gone with it, come back with yellow and kind of smear it together and do probably what Van Gogh would have done. If a little bit of color got somewhere, you work it in and make it work with the rest of the paint. Now I also felt like these two flowers, which I was going for yellow-green, not flowers, leaves, we're not reading as yellow-green as I wanted to, so I'm coming back over it with yellow to just add a yellow tint to everything I had previously laid down. Love working with this Neocolors for this particular situation because I don't have to worry about the crayon strokes, whether they get all blended in or not, because it just makes it feel more Van Gogh. Okay, love how these dark green leaves are turning out. Very dynamic and interesting. Okay, now we need to move and lay some color down in the background and then make some final tweaks and decisions like, am I still happy with this in the center? As you can tell, I'm not very happy with it. I keep coming back and wanting to fix it. I'm going to show you real quick Van Gogh's center of his flowers. That's kind of the ones I was looking at right there, and you can see I tried to interpret it, but I think I have a little too much value shift between the light yellow and the darker colors. His is much more subtle, so I think I'm going to make it more subtle to try to get the look I'm going for. Okay, for the background, this is where I'm not sure how this is going to work. Where I have some water-soluble products here, and I'm coming in with a very dry product, these pastels. And what I did was grab the tray that had the blue-greens, and there's some blues here as well, so I can kind of play with it. If you look at Van Gogh's background, you can see how he was mixing those colors in as he painted them down. And he used very linear strokes. So on the sunflowers, it's very fluid, very organic strokes. But then when he moved to his, the more man-made things like the background and the vase, it goes to very choppy, linear strokes. So I think that's really interesting, which I hadn't noticed until doing this exercise. I think it's really cool. Look at this part right here. Look at that texture that he's laid in there with all those linear strokes. It's a really good example of it right there. So I'm going to try to be Van Gogh-esque and have the outside now be very linear, lots of different tones to make up the color we're looking for, and go right to the line of the tape here so that hopefully when I pull the tape up, we'll have a nice crisp line. Okay, here we go. Let's play around with some pastels. Okay, there's the base layer of our pastels done. I'm just cleaning my fingers off a bit. I don't like how green it's coming across. I think in the Van Gogh picture it's looking a little bluer, and there's white, moments of white in it as well. But I think color-wise I'm getting really close. It's good. But I want to lean it more blue, and I think that will help not compete with our green leaves if the background leans a little bit more blue. So I probably won't use my blue-green pastels as much anymore and lean more into this more blue. Oh, right here. Now I was using just a makeup round to help blend out the first layer of strokes, and a cotton swab. I believe that's what it's called. A cotton swab. So those two simple tools, you could use a tissue, paper towel, your finger, whatever you want. Remember that not to blow the dust. You want to tap the dust off so that the dust doesn't go up into the air and you don't inhale it. No inhaling. Okay, so I'm going to continue to work adding the strokes in on top. As far as the black letters go, I'm just going right over them, and I'm going to use it like an eraser probably to bring those back. So more straight strokes here, so we're interpreting that, and lean into the blue. That's my plan. So one of the great things about working with soft pastels or chalk pastels is that they are, for the most part, erasable. Sometimes they will tint the paper that you're working on and you can't remove that pigment, but the majority of it you can erase. So I'm using just a end cap eraser from a pencil because it was nice and sharp and straight, to clean up some of the illustration lines from all of the excess pastel that got onto them. All right, now to increase that black line and get it even sharper, I grabbed my Faber-Castell Pitt pen in black. It's a brush tip, so I can get those expressive strokes on the little swirls and back up on the lettering. And we'll see how that turns out. It's getting a little gummed up with the chalk pastel onto the nib, so hopefully this won't ruin my marker. one of the things I learned at the Van Gogh experience is that Vincent van Gogh signed his art Vincent, not Van Gogh, because he was worried that people would have a hard time pronouncing his last name, which he was right. In the modern day, there's lots of different ways of pronouncing Van Gogh. So I'm going to sign this Van Gogh and then sign it with my name on the other corner and a date, and then we'll talk about how to seal this. Okay, anytime you work with pastels, you need to think about sealing your work because it's just a powder. Usually with paints, there's some sort of fixative or glue mixed into that paint so that it will hold on as it dries to your paper. Now, the pastels are just powder pigment and a little bit of other fillers in this stick. So there's nothing really to hold it down to the paper, so we need to fix it down. Usually I use a spray fixative, but today I'm going to be a little daring and try something new that I've been wanting to use on pastels. This is a product that I've used on gouache before and it works amazing, and I want to see if it's going to work here in this situation where we have a mixed medium. So it's Dorland's Wax Medium is what it is, and I'm actually going to rub it on to here. I'm a little worried how this is going to work, but it says I can use it on all different kinds of paintings and different as a sealing medium. So I feel like I'm pretty safe. Famous last words? Maybe not. But why don't we take a before shot here? Move all of this, and I'm going to have Steve, when he edits this, there. We'll do a side-by-side how it looks before I've sealed it, which is this one. And then at the end we'll do a side-by-side and see if it made it look better. Usually it makes the colors more vibrant and a little bit of sheen, but not much because this is matte unless you buff it. So I think it'll be okay. Here we go. So what I've learned so far is that this is working great, but the Faber-Castell Pip Pen, that ink is slightly activated by this wax. So what I figured out is that you have to do this tap, tap, tap motion to get the majority of the wax down over your marker line, and then you can sort of smooth it out without getting too much of that black activated. So after getting the background and the lettering all sealed down with the wax, I decided to go ahead and do the flowers and the leaves as well. You do have to be a little bit careful here. The Neocolor IIs will activate slightly with the wax, so I was very mindful. I did all the dark red-orange first, and then I moved on to the lighter petals, and then I moved on to the green. I didn't just sort of swish the whole thing together so I wouldn't get green where I didn't want it and vice versa. Okay, the sealing is pretty much done. I'm just going back now and looking at where maybe a little of the yellow got onto the black background, and I'm just sort of lifting that off with a dry finger. Now this wax does dry, so eventually it will be all dry, no waxy feeling, but I'm gonna have to leave it out probably overnight to let that happen. And I really like working with the wax. It's kind of fun. And now that the wax is down, you're kind of done. You can't really go in and add anything, although I wonder if you let it dry, if then you could come in and adjust things if you wanted to, or add some details. I do like the vividness of the colors now that they've been waxed, but they have changed a little, and I feel like the background there, I'm moving it in the light so you can see that it's quite matte, the wax finish. And by moving it in the light, I can see if there's an area that needs, that I didn't smooth out, maybe a chunk of wax or something like that. Okay. So I kind of like working with it. It's fun. I like the feeling. I like the way it seals the paper. But yeah, it was a little tricky like I thought it might be. So let's do this now, and I'll have Steve put up the before wax and the after wax now. We can see how it looks. Which one do you prefer? Comment below. Okay, next thing I need to do is take the tape off of our finished product. And then I can bring Steve over and sort of talk to you about the things that I like and the things that I learned and the things that I wish I had done different. So let's pull some tape. Okay, if you'd like to know, here they are, the products that I used. Pastels, the Faber-Castell Pitt pen, and then these are all the, let me write the name down. These are all Caran Neocolor IIs. Okay, here it is then. Everything I use, the Caran Neocolor II, the Pitt brush, the pastels, and the sealant down here. Messy list, but it's very expressive and artistic. Okay, and here for you is the final picture. I'm going to bring Steve over now. Come and see, Steve.
Oh, I like it. Definitely looks inspired by...
Yeah, let's take a look, right? And see the inspiration next to my attempt at learning from Vincent van Gogh. Look how good.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'll tell you a few things I don't like about it. I kind of liked in Vincent's painting how he has that yellow stripe at the bottom. Sort of grounds it. Let me show you. This stripe is what I'm talking about. And I kind of miss that over here. I wish I had interpreted that. I think the background is too dark. Vincent's background is very light so that the very saturated, full intensity colors really pop off the background. So I wish my background was a little bit lighter. Those are my big criticisms.
It's kind of the same. I think you did good.
You think I did good?
Yeah.
I'm still not sure about the centers of these, but it's so Vincent. So I decided to leave it because it looks so much like the centers of his bright flowers over here.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah. But I learned so much. I didn't notice before the difference in strokes. I'll show you that, Steve. See how the background, he used very linear strokes.
Oh, yeah.
But in anything that's organic, it's a very swoopy organic strokes.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. There's those straight strokes again versus all the curvy, beautiful strokes in the flowers. So cool. Never noticed that before, and I wouldn't have unless I spent some time studying the piece and trying to do a very sad but fun interpretation of Vincent van Gogh. So... this is a downloadable coloring page. I want you now, I'm going to put out the Vincent van Gogh coloring challenge. And remember, the idea isn't to necessarily copy him, but to learn from him and to be expressive with your strokes. Try some new products. I don't know, whatever you want to do. Come on over to our Facebook group. I'm going to start a post there called the Vincent van Gogh Challenge. And from there will be a link that will take you back to our website where you can download this page. And hopefully also we'll put in an image of Vincent's sunflowers so that you can look at it up close on your device too. And then after you've colored it, I want you to post it under that Vincent van Gogh challenge post so that we can all see how we all interpret this master with our own coloring tools and coloring skills. It's almost impossible to copy it because we're not using oil paints. I mean, and it's Vincent, right? Who can copy Vincent van Gogh? But we can learn from him and see how he used color and strokes and expressiveness and value and contrast, all those things. So please take the Vincent van Gogh challenge. I'll put links and everything you need in this video. Cannot wait to see what you come up with coloring like Vincent van Gogh. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Steve, for getting tickets to that experience so that I could have that really cool time in that room inspired by all those beautiful colors.
You're welcome.
All right, I hope this inspired you. Go out there, take the Vincent van Gogh challenge, and I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful, colorful, blissful day. Bye-bye, everyone. Are you going to say bye? No, she's too tired. I'll hold this up instead. It's very Vincent.
Let me see next to your shirt.
Oh, see how we did. It feels like it's in the same world.
Yeah, definitely feels in the same world.
All right. Bye-bye.